September 27, 2023 San Diego County Board of Supervisors Land Use Meeting and Flood Control District Meeting to order. Can you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. Supervisor Anderson.
Here.
Supervisor Desmond.
Here.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. Chairwoman Vargas.
Vargas here. We will now proceed with non-agenda public communication. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subject matters within the board's jurisdiction, but not an item on today's agenda. The only action that the board may take is a referral to the Chief Administrative Officer. Reminder, according to Rule 4A, members of the public that are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance will get twice the allotted time for their comments, which is 4 minutes. As a reminder, according to the board rules and procedures, audience members shall not whistle, clap, stomp feet, or anything that disrupts the proceedings. To better facilitate the meeting, we're going to take all the speakers at the beginning of the meeting today, and then we will, we'll just take all the speakers today. Clerk, can you call the speakers, please?
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. And as the Chairwoman noted, we'll be hearing all the public speakers this morning. So if you are a phone participant, please call in now. Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 15 total requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 3 in person and 12 coming via phone. For those that requested to speak via phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will begin with the in-person speakers, and as your name is called, if you could please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board, and I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Michael Brando, Robert Gurman, and Bryant Roomba. And you may come forward in any order.
Good morning. Robert Gurman, I live in Lakeside. I have a slideshow, so we can hit it. There you go. Slide 1 shows the 50-year-old trainer low over my house, which is on the east side of Rattlesnake Mountain, 2 minutes before his crash. He was already in trouble. There is an old aviation cliche, altitude is my friend, and these pilots are not listening to that cliche. This plane is below pattern altitude. Slide 2 and 3 show the results of not having enough altitude, or maybe enough fuel, or maybe both. How lucky was this plane going across a 6-lane highway known for truck traffic, which are high and wide, in a 50-year-old plane hitting 2 fences. The fence material then bombed a small car with a mom and a daughter inside. The daughter could not be interviewed. She was still crying. This accident could have been much worse. Slide 4. Gillespie's problems were known by the airport authority, but were dismissed. Why? Slide 5 shows the results of the airport authority's bad decisions. 57 fatalities, number 1 in the nation, according to my sources, which is an ATC controller. Pilot, doctors, nurses, and workers on the ground have died. Homes have been destroyed. Lives changed forever. For what? Gillespie is still flying in bad weather, actually worse weather, a hurricane, tropical storm, low overpopulated areas, in an unsafe pattern around Rattlesnake Mountain in old airplanes. Is San Diego County Airports learning anything from this data? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
All right, still Bryant Rumbaugh. Jim, good to see you this morning. I apologize for missing you yesterday, bud. I did get a chance to review some of the footage. It was an interesting meeting once again. I'd like to start to talk about really that I believe would be the final agenda item, which I unfortunately missed. It was about the immigration, declaring the crisis, all that stuff. I do follow your Instagram, and I do understand you have an opinion on that, and I as well too. There was some good commentary by the speakers, both in person and on phone. And really what I wanted to say was, at this point, what we need to have as Americans is we need to understand what our new goal needs to be, which is nip these problems in the bud, as you've spoken before. We need to set an example for these people in other countries that are seeking asylum. Now, a lot of these humanitarian people, they have great hearts. So do I. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't trying to see improvement. okay? We also need to understand that as we liquidate our resources and really kind of bankrupt ourselves and allow this federal government to kind of do what it's done, we need to understand that there very well may be some underlying objectives here, okay? Our sovereignty is important. Okay, I mean, in case you didn't know, we pretty much had our president sign away our sovereignty when it comes to, this pandemic, and that's going to be popping off, I think that officially takes course in March or something, but, we're going to be reaching that again. But, ultimately, we need to set a good example for these people, and we need to solve our problems, and therefore, because we can't have people coming to America who don't understand what America's about. We've already got sheriffs who have proved that they have no concept of God-given rights, okay? He beat up a woman, it would have been November 15th last year, okay? Got hands-on. It's not acceptable in this country.
Michael, California Code 54954.3C. The legislative body of a local agency shall not prohibit public criticism of the omissions of the legislative body. Omissions of the legislative body. Whenever there's an agenda item or a bucket of items in the consent calendar, but let's talk about a discussion item. There's the trunk of the tree, and that's the agendized item. That agendized item often, almost always, without fail, has roots that feed and nurture that agendized item, the trunk of the tree. There's also branches that stem off from the trunk of the tree. So all of those branches and the roots play a part in the agendized item. I mention this because there's a behavioral health issue here where people are constantly being interrupted. Even at Sandag, the same woman at Sandag interrupts people when they only have 60 seconds to talk. People often already feel intimidated. They feel like they can't give voice to what they want to give voice to, so they stay away from these meetings, and they stay away from this lectern. So I'm offering this as additional input that could be used to help people feel they have a right to address issues and an agendized item in all its full glory and everything that feeds into it. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted, and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. And again, as already noted, we'll be hearing from all public speakers this morning. We'll begin with our first caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors, Chair Vargas. My name is Terry Ann Skelly, and I'm a mentor and tutor for a diverse group of high school students who study public health and environmental policies that affect their lives. Since September is Suicide Prevention Month, I came today to share on their behalf their concerns regarding the mental health struggles of their peers, and recently, the most severe form of mental health struggles, student suicides. As the superintendent wrote regarding student suicides, and I quote, "This is a tragedy for family and the community. To school personnel in the schools where the students may have had friends. School districts are working on a comprehensive plan to address the mental health challenges that our students are facing. We will get ahead of this, but it will take time, dedicated resources, and a commitment from everyone," end quote. It is this commitment to which I'd like to speak this morning. We need the Board of Supervisors to make a commitment to youth by sending clear messages regarding how best to handle their problems. and that drugs are never the answer. Not alcohol, not tobacco, not marijuana, or abuse of prescription drugs. Now would be the perfect time to add a ban of flavored marijuana products to the county's ban on flavored tobacco products. A ban of flavored marijuana products would be a tremendous prevention message, and it would show respect for and understanding of our youth and their stressors. This would show your commitment to prevention and to our youth. Thank you for hearing my concerns this morning.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hi, Paula Bold. Good morning. While climate change is a big indicator of the strain on our planet, it is just a small part of the overall issue. Even Bill Gates says that climate change people are overreaching. We are neglecting other signs such as the consumption of biomass and the disruption of nutrient cycles, all of which are contributing to the Earth's sixth mass extinction. Another issue is political boards like CARB or the FDA apparently ignoring some hazardous chemicals and favoring others. Grandstanding is also a problem. Nora, does CARB catalog all airborne hazards or just a few that are perhaps more visible? For instance, Sandag voted the other day to mandate that big trucks reduce the amount of diesel they have. There are a lot of worse things. PCBs in the water are slowly being plasticized, sewage fumes, excessive chlorine, leaded fuel, especially bad for school kids, and many more. And the Sandag thing was done on an equity basis for Barry, Logan, and Coronado. I'd say diesel is the least of their worries. Gas is spread over time, so eventually we'll all be breathing it. And when Sandag Otay Mesa border crossing opens up, the diesel fumes will be all over, from Barrios to Otay and right through East San Diego. And these trucks are, by the way, are working already to reduce our fume intake. Not sure about our government-run agencies. Have you stood next to a truck recently and breathed in? Now, stand.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
What is not being understood is that these politicians are not here to solve any of the problems that we have. They're here to make sure that things go according to plan. There's something to be said about we the people of San Diego. We pay the highest gas taxes, 54 cents on the dollar per gallon. We pay the most for the electricity, not only in the state or the country, but on the planet. Not even our local media has the people's back, let alone do these beyond corrupt politicians. How people can be so entirely aloof and continue to just go along with being tax slaves is just sad. Everybody's waiting on something or someone. Start paying attention. If you are following people or organizations on social media and you don't know about the United Nations Agenda 21, then you're following the wrong ones. Things will get worse. They already are. It's just that the public's too distracted. It's not going to change until each and every one of us shows up and starts holding all these public officials accountable. They've done so much bad already. They violate their own rules, and there's conflicts of interest galore. We can't even trust our local media to expose them or to report truth. They're bought off just like these politicians are, all employed to fulfill the United Nations Agenda 21. As mentioned, it's never going to get better. It's only going to get worse. Look it up. Your kids will be full-out slaves to this government. We already are. And just to address the people who call in constantly about issues with marijuana this, marijuana that, let's get to the source of why these people become dependent on.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Chair Vargas and Supervisors. My name is Becky Rapp, and I'm a resident of San Diego and an attendee of the Valley Center and Fallbrook Planning Group. One common concern they both have is the expansion of the marijuana industry in our communities. It was brought to our attention that last November, the California Department of Cannabis Control banned the sale and production of all flavored inhaled marijuana products. Mirroring Prop 31, as flavored inhaled marijuana products are known to initiate youth use. Unfortunately, almost a year later, all 5 existing marijuana retail shops are still selling these products. Residents are concerned as to why the county's code enforcement is not holding them accountable. We fear the message being sent to the marijuana industry is that they're not required to abide by the law. Nowhere on the Socially Equitable Cannabis Program website does it state that flavored inhaled marijuana products are no longer permitted to be manufactured and or sold. I ask you to please place this item on a future agenda, asking the Socially Equitable Cannabis Department to present information regarding the new requirements for inhaled cannabis products, along with a detailed report of all products currently being sold in the existing marijuana businesses, as well as products being manufactured. This issue should be a priority and regulatory requirements should be updated.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Kathleen Lippett, District 2, an attendee of county planning groups in my district. Unincorporated planning groups will become home to commercial marijuana businesses, grows, and manufacturers. It's been daunting to listen to the misinformation, rhetoric, and mendacity of the marijuana industry. Those of us who have worked to prevent use of addictive drugs and the promotion of child-friendly, high-THC marijuana products designed to hook kids and that tout dangerous assertions of their unproven benefit. We have been blaming them all along. They do not deserve the blame. They are acting the same way that any predatory for-profit soulless industry would do. It's in their DNA. These products and all of the harms that are have come from this industry fall squarely on the blame on the shoulders of public electeds who decided to join their cause for whatever reason, political or economic or conflicts of interest or simply a lack of principles that would have helped them stand up and protect youth and young adults, and also many of the people that are on our roads and are going to be slaughtered by marijuana drivers who are high, and there is no test for those for driving under the influence for marijuana. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hello, this is Kelly McCormick. I'm a public health educator. With Clean Air Day coming up, I encourage the county to consider an ordinance requiring all multi-unit housing to be designated as smoke and vape free. It would be a meaningful step in protecting the health of San Diego County residents, particularly children who are significantly impacted by exposure to secondhand and third-hand smoke. Apartments and condominiums are home to thousands of children. When they are exposed to secondhand and third-hand smoke, their immune systems are harmed. They are diagnosed with more ear infections, bronchitis, asthma, and other respiratory ailments, and their quality of life is harmed due to conditions beyond their control. According to the Center for Energy and Environment, 65% of the air in an apartment can come from other units in the building. Smoke enters through vents, electrical outlets, windows, and even tiny cracks in the walls. Residue soaks deep into walls, flooring, draperies, even the stuffed animals that children cuddle with and put in their mouths. This residue is nearly impossible to get rid of, even after extensive professional deep cleaning, costing landlords time and money. Going smoke and vape free would be a win-win for residents and property owners, resulting in cost savings, a better quality of life, and a healthier population. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, this is Peggy Walker. On today's early news, Ann Milgram, the U.S. DEA administrator, gave a disturbing fentanyl update, further emphasizing egregious outcomes of our open border. Milgram said 70% of pills seized by the DEA contain fentanyl, and this year the DEA seized more pills containing fentanyl than ever before. 60 million compared to 58 million last year. Those pills are more deadly than ever, she said, warning that fentanyl is the deadliest drug we've ever faced. It's incredibly cheap, easy to transport, and has completely changed the face of narcotics trafficking in the world. The DEA chief said cartels controlling our border have already established strongholds in interior states like Kentucky and Utah. Do we stand a chance of controlling fentanyl? Milgram called it a difficult task. Imagine, however, if we were less prone to encouraging and promoting drug use with its accompanying social pathologies. What if you supervisors placed a higher emphasis on prevention messaging and funding regarding healthier choices and better alternatives for dealing with stress and anxiety? Considering the border situation of fentanyl, normalizing drug use by expanding marijuana businesses that sell high-potency vaping and smoking products, and adding to the hard drug supply, and today's THC is a hard drug, just doesn't make sense. This is especially true when enforcement against banned products isn't taking place. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hi, good morning, Barbara Gordon. I am the advisor for a Hispanic youth group. Many of my high school students live in multi-unit housing. I am concerned about the amount of unprotected exposure to secondhand tobacco and marijuana smoke in their homes. In multi-unit apartment buildings, the secondhand smoke drifts from one unit into surrounding units through windows, wall cracks, ventilation systems, plumbing, electrical outlets. I ask you to consider prohibiting smoking in multi-unit housing as a priority that aligns with the Live Well mission to build better health, live safely, and thrive. Exposure to secondhand smoke causes an estimate of 41,000 deaths each year. I am concerned some populations can be disproportionately affected by tobacco and marijuana secondhand smoke exposure and are more likely to suffer from disease or death. Potential contributing factors include low socioeconomic status, lack of sensation services, low level of education, inadequate health insurance. Supporting policies that favor smoke-free environments and eliminate secondhand tobacco and marijuana smoke will improve the quality of life and encourage healthy living. The youth and I are grateful for your consideration on this relevant and important issue. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Ann Riddle here. I attend my county planning group, the San Diego County Planning Group, and we care a great deal about dark skies and clean air. So we too are excited that next Wednesday, October 4th, will be California Clean Air Day. And I understand that maybe countywide there has been a committee established, and it looks like that perhaps David Flores from Nora Vargas's office and Nora herself are on this committee of about 8 people. I notice San Diego Gas and Electric is there, but I don't see American Heart, American Lung, and American Cancer, very active groups here in our county who care a great deal about clean air and would bring a body of research and enthusiasm to this committee. So if a change could be made, and if that could be a request by Supervisor Vargas, I would suggest it would benefit all of our community members here in the county a lot. When I read up on the California Clean Air Day, I was impressed by one sentence that I wanted to share with you this morning. It says that this can be a unified day of action, and we can create new habits. There's a great idea, easily said, hard to do, and clear the air for all members of California's diverse community. And I was thrilled with the emphasis on diverse communities. I've spent most of my adult life working in behalf of the Hispanic Latino community, and I know firsthand how badly poor air quality has affected their health outcomes. But I'm particularly taken with the create new habits. New habits depend on messaging and policies, and that is the purview of this Board of Supervisors. And I would encourage you to look at both your messaging.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
So you guys, I have some pretty good ideas for you. I was thinking, like, with these 15-minute cities, if we call them, like, Hunger Games, you know, like the districts, like, I think that would be more exciting. If we could put some kind of music with it, like, you know, that we just play over people's phones or the speaker to let them know it's time to go into your 15-minute zone. And really, we need to create some fear to do it. It's like, you know, because otherwise they're not going to want to do it. But we could get people into these, like, you know, communities, like a factory community like in China. They're doing really well with this. So everybody lives where they work, right? They get married there. They have their babies there, all of them together. It's like this whole, and so you just make a fearful, like, you know, something, like tell them that, say, like if they step outside of that building, they'll blow up, and then just like blow something up so that they really believe it, right? And I thought we could have some kind of like bracelet or something that would make it feel like you're special, and that bracelet you could make 2 of them, and then they could, like, you know, go together like with a magnet or something. So like if you guys need to arrest me, you could do that. But, you know, we need to also use kind of like facial recognition, because we don't want these people going outside of their districts. That can be very dangerous, because then they can tell other people how great their district is, and we need to keep people in their own districts. And so we need to keep making decisions without the consent of the people, because that's the only way we're going to be able to do this. But I really think that if we, you know, bring in these type of things, like the music, like you could get like an orchestra to just really do it up. You know, I mean, we've seen the movies, right? So we want people to feel like they're in the movie, right? It kind of gets it, makes people excited about, you know, being a slave. I mean, because we don't want them to really know what's going on. We can't have that. We need to just like constantly keep them like, look over here, look at this invisible killer dot, look at this, you know, I mean, constantly. And so if we even need to use aliens to do it, I feel like we could do that. And it'll get really, you know, people to not travel, because we can't let them know that they have the freedom to travel. We don't want them taking control, right? I mean, there's so many of them. We have to do whatever we can to make sure that we have control of them, because otherwise, could you imagine what would happen if everybody stood up against that? It would be crazy. We can't have that. So, yeah, I think Hunger Game districts. I'll think of some other names that maybe we could do that would be really exciting. Maybe we can have.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hello to the derelicts of duty. This is Truth. And credit to Dorian for inspiring that line. I noticed that at yesterday's meeting there was a sign language interpreter for the speakers. That's the first time I've experienced that. It was pretty cool. Also yesterday, Nora, you said you're working on seniors being able to ride public transit for free on the taxpayer's dime. So why don't you show up to the next MTS and we can talk about it. About how the seniors will be just as safe as the 5-year-olds that ride alone. And how MTS is basically bankrupt. That related, I noticed I always mention Nora at Sandag, but I never mention Joel. I think that's because I never notice him because he stares at his phone the whole meeting. Although, Joel, I actually liked some of what you said last Sandag. But I think that Jim should head back to Sandag in your place. That could be way more fun. I even called you out recently, Jim, for voting for Hassani Krata at an inflated $414,000 a year in the first place. Shame. Last, I want to point out that there is no need for sports games, festivals, comedies, or scary movies. It can all be found in these chambers. Here's recent proof.
How many squirrels you have, and you see one squirrel, and you're like, well, we have only one squirrel. But a good person who knows their squirrel population knows that one squirrel and 5 squirrel holes is probably got 20 more squirrels in those holes.
I'm sorry, I suck. The whole system may be held together with Band-Aids. The whole system may be held together with Band-Aids.
Whoever wants to have more laughs or just torture themselves, visit Tara, Luke Bergman, future inputted Monica, Marnie, Mara Elliott, Catherine Blakespeare, and Attorney General Rob Bonta on Friday at the county building for an anti-gun summit show airing 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. They'll be pushing unconstitutional ideas such as making affordable 3D printed firearms illegal and demanding people keep their firearms rusted in expensive and hard-to-open containers. And with the rest of my time, I'd like to have a monologue about Chaldean Iraqi food. There's falafel, samoon, kibbeh.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning.
Thank you. All right, with the next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes statement of proceedings for the regular meeting and flood control district meeting of September 12, 2023. Is there a motion? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, please vote.
And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present voting aye.
Thank you. The next item is our consent calendar. We will now proceed with the formation of our consent calendar. Items 1 to 2 and Fund Control District Item 1. Members of the public will be able to comment on the consent calendar after the supervisors pull any items they would like for discussion. Any of my colleagues would like to pull anything? Supervisor Anderson?
Not this time.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'd be happy.
All right, fabulous. Supervisor Desmond?
No, nothing to pull, no comments. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Vice Chair Lawson-Weimer? All right, no comments either. So I'm going to turn it over to public comment.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 3 total requests to speak on items on the consent calendar, all coming via phone. So for those members of the public that have requested to speak on items on the consent calendar, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you, and we will give you a moment to do so.
Okay, as folks are preparing to speak, just want to remind the members of the public, please keep your comments related to those items only on the consent calendar. Thank you.
We will now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we will begin with our first caller.
So, you guys, it's good that we, pretend to do things and like get money for it. But I'm thinking, it's like, why are we even fixing these, storm drains? You're right. I mean, we're going to make people want to live outside of their district. And these airports, I feel like we really want people flying anywhere. I mean, they can get away pretty far in those. So I don't know. I think, maybe we should just revoke their rent and just, I don't know. I mean, we could just put a lithium bomb somewhere in there and it'll just blow them all up. And then, like, the culvert repair, it sounds like it's like let's just make sure that this, the construction cost isn't below, isn't low enough so that, we don't need to fix all of this stuff. I mean, because what's the point of doing that when we really need to get people in their zones? It's like we're kind of giving them incentive to not go in there. So I feel like we need to work a little bit harder, right? Because, I mean, look at China. They're doing so well, and we want to be the first to everything, and I feel like we're failing at that. We could do so much better, just it quicker. I just feel like sometimes you guys lag, I mean, it's nice and all to pretend, because it's like it makes people think that, everyone cares. But, I mean, at the end of the day, that's not what this is about. It's about putting everybody where they need to be. So, I mean, fixing stuff and, leasing an airport space, I just don't think it's very conducive to this plan. And so what we really need to do, is, get all these airplanes out of here. I mean, because if somebody, goes really far, how are we going to get them back to their district? And, I don't think the carbon footprint on the airplanes is big enough either to, make people believe that they're bad. So if we could just, up that, I don't know if we need to, I don't know. There's just so many things we can do, you guys. But being that we want to be the first, I just really think that we're not working hard enough.
Thank you. Your time is up. And to note for the record, that speaker was Audra. We'll go to our next speaker.
Truth. Thanks for this item, I got to learn what a culvert is. Basically, it's a big structure with drainage pipes that usually end up with graffiti on them. This item mentions SB1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act. It's been one of the many extortionist tools used against cities lately, for example, at Sandag. SB1 costs people at least $50 to register their cars and at least $70 a year extra to fill up their gas tanks. This item says the County Department of Public Works collects data about the severity of rust, holes, and other potential damage of culverts, but there's no mention about Ninja Turtles living in there. But seriously, there's 151 culverts to be repaired with about $11 million. If the county gets lucky, which is doubtful with eternally increasing inflation, then maybe they'll be able to construct another 56 culverts. But I think beginning the construction in winter is pretty foolish and will end up delaying projects and costing more money. Item 2, I would almost refer to Gurman on this item, but it's really all about money. Palomar Airport Center LLC has to deal with the county constantly upping the rent to keep up with inflation. This is going to be the 8th amendment to their lease in only 7 years, costing Palomar over $252,000 more. It's almost like a deal with the mafia, one that can't be refused because there's too much money at stake. And flood control item 1. This was the item that went missing from the September 13th meeting. A drain pipe busted, and there's been a sinkhole in the parking lot of a condo complex in Bonita since June. The almost $2 million repairs are supposed to finally be done next month. And I think this pathetic state of affairs incident serves as further proof that communities need to create their own districts outside of the county's thumb whenever feasible. Otherwise, we will continue to risk life and property by the enlarging sinkhole that is corrupted and expanded government. It's not the worst consent I've ever seen, but I still have to say, no consent to the consent in this case. But I am glad that it's short, and they should all be very similar to this. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Consuelo. So I just wanted to remind the people who come and speak at these meetings, if you doubt your power of your voice, just look at what they do to try to silence you. I'm off topic. Deal.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Paula Bold, water purification. The Tijuana River sewage thing is an emergency, but it would be good to devote some of the chlorine for the water purification project to the TJ problem. It would ease the threat to health and safety there while diminishing the threat of an overconcentration of chlorine in the Mount Helix Water District, which I've experienced. Also, an increasing number of pathogens in the waste to be filtered or artificial chemical constructs, probably impervious to chlorine, such as PCBs and mRNA. You may not need as much chlorine as you think for the water purification, but alternate methods for filtration and removal are better. Groundwater. The revisions to the groundwater ordinance say that any future use will be regulated by a Superior Court decision. A Superior Court decision is highly subject to challenge and overruling on appeal by so many authorities that basing an ordinance on this is simply not prudent. Perhaps you can build a desalination plant or pipe in water from other areas, but the ordinance is written as discriminatory, will cripple areas of business and agriculture, and depopulate it. The ordinance needs to be rewritten. Storm drain repairs, broken on June 12th. This is apparently a contrived emergency. The county seems to be in the business of calling things an emergency just to make the voters think that something's being done. But the drain break was June 12th, survey done by June 26th. The repairs were supposed to be completed by August, but the contractor now wants until November. We need a new contractor. And
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on the items on the consent calendar.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present, voting aye.
All right, we will now hear discussion item number 3, notice public hearing, amend the groundwater ordinance, September 27, 2023, first reading October 11, 2023, second reading, and focused update to the California Environmental Quality Guidelines and report requirements for groundwater. Clerk, can we go ahead and call the speakers?
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 5 total requests to speak, all coming via phone. I'd like to also note for the record that we did not receive any e-comments on this item. So for any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you, and we will give you a moment to do so. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we will begin with our first caller.
You guys, this one is good because it's like, you know what this is going to do? This is going to make people who have wells, like on their private property, they're going to, you know, this is going to be then enforced to them. So I really like this. This is going to get us into our zones. Because if we don't, you know, threaten people's lives with like, you're not going to have water, right? I mean, but then offer it up somewhere else. That's how we do it, right? I mean, because we need people to be like, oh my gosh, I need your help. It's the only way. I mean, it's a very intelligent plan. So I'm like, we're doing pretty good. But I think we could go quicker. Like, this shouldn't just be for certain areas and like bigger, you know, water sources. This obviously has to go across the board because, I mean, people cannot be self-sufficient. How ridiculous is that? It's just like, you know, we're getting rid of all the farmland and stuff. We don't want people growing their own food because they're not going to eat what we give them. I mean, Soylent Green is so good, and they're going to love it. We can flavor it in different ways. You know, I mean, we have crickets, all of these things. So, and we'll be giving them back their own sewage. It'll be like a personal tank. So it'll just kind of go back to them. But if they want, they can mix it with others just for, you know, a little bit of a spice difference. That might work too. But this is good because I feel like, you know, as long as we continue to just put the fear in the people, that is the best way to control them. And so I feel like we're doing good, but we could always do better, you know? I mean, always. There's always. So I feel like, you know, kind of show me some more today, you guys. But I'll come back with a song and maybe some outfits that we can wear. I think that would be pretty neat. And they could have surveillance technology in them. How cool would that be, right? It's like I love technology. It's these days, I mean, we have the power to, you know, make people believe there's aliens. So it's like, even if we need to use that, I feel like, you know, we'll keep that in our back pocket. But, yeah, so... we need to also keep draining the water out into the ocean. I mean, because it's stupid for people to think there's an abundance.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hello? Hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead and begin your comments.
Oh, I didn't really have a comment for this one, sorry.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Thank you for that. This is Truth. This item says, quote, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act passed in 2014 provides a framework to regulate groundwater for the first time in California's history, end quote. It's always good to learn one of the many, many state laws trying to usurp local control and take away freedom from everyone. It's claiming that local agencies must balance groundwater extraction with groundwater recharge in basins. From what I understand, that means a water district would have to wait until water seeps all the way down into an aquifer before extracting more water. However, there's also artificial groundwater recharge, which redistributes water via canals, basins, or ponds, or even by injecting water directly under the ground through injection wells. All of this sounds like an artificially created problem. But now the county is going to be, once again, accepting the state's dictates instead of being local representatives and implementing changes to the groundwater ordinance for the Borrego Springs Basin and updating guidelines for the upper San Luis Rey Valley Basin and the San Pasqual Basin. People in Borrego Springs have to work with a new bureaucracy called the Water Master in order to use their own groundwater. I think its name makes perfect sense. This new government entity is the master, and they are now slaves to its approval and wishes versus the other way around. And if that wasn't enough, add in the CEQA guidelines and the groundwater investigations water blockers, the geyser of overflowing totalitarianism. This is exactly the kind of thing that made Fallbrook and Rainbow seek to leave the county's control, because these type of acceptances of the state's dictates results in higher water prices and higher food prices. Everyone suffers. Like Karina Contreras said recently.
I want people, when they talk about others suffering, to just eliminate the word suffering and say dying. To just eliminate the word suffering and say dying.
Oh, you know, you guys might be killing people with this type of item, according to Karina Contreras. Maybe we should all use that lack of logic to talk about items, because then we can really...
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Paul the Bold, groundwater ordinance. The revisions to the groundwater ordinance say that any future use will be regulated by a superior court decision. Now, a superior court decision is highly subject to challenge, often is, and it's subject to overruling on appeal by so many authorities that basing an ordinance on this is simply not prudent. I don't know, but something's up in your legal department. Maybe you need a new counsel. And speak of the law, do you think there is a reason why so many people are now suddenly directly citing and quoting the law and legal, going into legal documents and all that stuff. I mean, you know, I really wonder. Perhaps you can build a desalination plant or pipe in water from other areas to save Borrego Springs from all the bad things that the ordinance will do. The ordinance is written, though, it's discriminatory. I mean, the rest of the county pigs out on water while Borrego suffers. It will cripple the area's business and agriculture, and it will end up depopulating Borrego Springs, which, I mean, you aren't supposed to be in the business of depopulating the county. The ordinance really needs to be rewritten. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you. Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it. And I appreciate staff, PDS, for bringing this item forward, specifically to Jim Bennett, our groundwater resource manager, and your team for their work in Borrego Springs. I really appreciate it. I support today's action to update our groundwater ordinance and CEQA guidelines. It's very good to see, the community of Borrego working together and coming up with their own plan on how they're going to sustainably use the water that they have. This was a great, I guess, a coup or whatever on their behalf. And then, Jim, you leading the way out there as well, helping Borrego Springs manage their groundwater resources. And this was approved by the courts. So I think it's great that this is getting into our ordinance, and kudos to the Borrego Water Master Board for managing this and you being a part of it. And glad to see this item coming forward. So I'll be happy to make a motion to approve item 3.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Oh, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say that I think the groundwater challenge was pretty significant, and it was just really creative and really constructive, and hope we can see more of that. But great work. I agree with my colleague. I love this cap and trade. It's just really interesting. So thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
All right. The next item on the agenda is item number 4, Traffic Advisory Committee discussion item and related CEQA exceptions. September 7, 2023, adopt recommendations including introducing an ordinance October 25th, 2023, second reading of an ordinance unless ordinance is modified on second reading. Clerk, can you please call the speakers?
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 4 total requests to speak, all coming again via phone. I'd also like to note for the record, we did receive 1 e-comment on this item, which was in opposition. For any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using those instructions that were provided to you. And again, we will give you a moment to do so. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. Again, when it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll begin with our first caller.
Truth, the only positive I could say about this item is that I appreciate the addition of the reasoning or excuses behind the changes to the roads. Because of this traffic advisory committee, there have been at least 10 streets that have had speed limits reduced this year alone. Now out on Grand Avenue in La Presa, Sunset Drive in Escondido, and Fruitvale Road in Valley Center. The latter being near Cold Grade Road, which just had the speed limit reduced a couple weeks ago. And there was even a man who said nobody in the neighborhood approved. But none of that matters when these supervisors stop representing their constituents and instead represent the state's dictates, and specifically in the form of AB 43 and AB 1938, which claim that any government entity in the state can lower speed limits anywhere by at least 10 miles per hour. They can also take up to 1/5 of all roadways or whole neighborhoods by labeling them as special zones to bring the speed limits almost to a complete halt to driving. And that's the point. Unlike the Traffic Advisory Committee and Sandag, both of which I have a big stop sign for, I've determined that the only way to reduce traffic congestion is to increase speed limits almost everywhere. If anyone's concerned about safety, the MTS has informed the public that all that's required is a perception of safety to be safe. So we can put up 80 miles per hour safe zone signs and everything will be okay. Especially if this item is going to cost $7,760 from the state highway user tax account. And I think we need to actually treat our highways like highways and allow high speeds on them. And maybe we don't need to expand the highways after all. We'll just convert roads into highways, kind of like how cities have been converting roads into bus lanes or sustainable slime green bike lanes. We can even paint these new highway road lanes yellow.
Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road.
So yes, I think tax should increase speed limits and we should all drive like we're always on highways, other than near schools or something. I think that's a better idea than what they're doing, where they're not wanting us to drive at all. That's clearly their agenda. I think we need to go fast. 80 miles per hour safe zones. That's what we do.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
All right, you guys. So in other countries, they're like got the 20-mile-an-hour zones, and that's really making people mad. I don't know why we're not doing that here. It's really going to de-incentivize the driving, and we can't have people driving. We're not going fast enough. So you could also charge more than the $77,760. I feel like that's a little bit low. But, you know, it's like good thing that this road usage charge is coming down the state, because that'll even help, right? I mean, even though Sandag is pretending to not want it, right, Nora? Good job on that. You're so smart. But we really need to de-incentivize people from driving because it's killing the planet, okay? We can't be, you know, letting people have any kind of freedoms, even though they have, like I said before, we don't want them to know that they have the freedom to travel, right? We need them to believe that they don't and that we can control every move. So we're doing pretty good, but I feel like these speed limits are pretty high because then, you know, it's like we want people to walk faster than driving so that they really, you know, choose to walk or even bike, right? So I just feel that we could go a little bit quicker with this, you know, and I don't know, maybe the road usage charge when it comes down, it needs to be so expensive, like more than a vehicle, you know, so it's like only the rich can then do it, and then we'll have to de-incentivize them somehow by just, you know, letting them know that the money is, you know, fake. It's just, it's not real, so then they won't want to spend it. But yeah, and I don't know, like maybe we can make people get permits for walking too. I feel like, because there are still some GHGs being created there, and the planet, I mean, we don't want that to die. I mean, we need to save it really quickly because it's like, you know, it's suffering, and we just need people to know that more. So I don't know if you guys want to, you know, just start, you know, charging people also to breathe. I feel like that could be something because it's like, you know, if someone breathes more air than somebody else, it's not really fair.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item number 5. We'll now hear discussion number 5, which is enact an ordinance and adopt a resolution to dissolve San Diego County Permanent Road Division number 1000, zone 1003, Alamo Way and Crest, and related CEQA exception. Can you please go ahead and call the speakers from the public? Just a reminder to please stay on topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 3 total requests to speak, all coming again via phone. I'd also like to note for the record, we did not receive any comments on this item. Again, for any members of the public that requested to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you, and we will give you a moment to do so. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. Again, when it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. And again, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We'll go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Truth, enjoying the no discussion presentations. This is one of those rare items that I absolutely support. Permanent Road Division number 1000, zone number 1003 on Alamo Way and Crest has been apparently in need of asphalt repair, a resurfacing treatment, a replacement of one drainage culvert. There's those dreaded culverts again. To repair the road, its estimated cost about $163,000, but the area doesn't have enough funds to cover that. This county PRD zone only has $4,400 from taxes on the 20 property owners within the zone, $220 per house. So in April, ballots were sent to the homes so they could vote as to whether they wanted to increase the tax so the county could afford to finally fix the road, or vote to not increase rates and not have the road fixed, or to just dissolve the PRD. The majority of the property owners, 13 out of 20, voted to disapprove a rate increase and request dissolution of the PRD zone. That's the best part of this story. I consider it a victory that yet another entity under the county thumb said, adios, see ya never. One of the solutions that every responsible community needs to begin the process of. Keep your own money, save your money, and take care of your own problems. Quit relying on others in the form of government, like an adult baby. Easier said than done, but it needs to be done wherever possible to break the cycle of control. The cost to complete this dissolution is about $6,800. Money that, of course, could have gone to the road repair. But freedom ain't cheap. Put in perspective, the county spent $8,350 of these 20 property owners' money cutting shrubs, replacing signs, and repainting the road, but not on fixing the road like the community actually needed. Luckily, any money left over from this dissolution will be returned back to property owners. And now they're free from county chains. So I would say it's totally worth it, and that is why I am in complete approval of this item.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Meant to say with the previous item, we should be putting in stop signs every like 20 feet as well. That will help. This is good because, I mean, why are we even asking people for consent to raise a tax? I mean, we should have just charged them the extra $8,150, right? And then not even fixed it. But this is good because I doubt then the road will even get fixed, right? Because, like, they're probably not going to come up with, all that money themselves, so this is really good. This will keep them from probably even being able to leave their home, and then you know what? You can just tell them they can work from home. I mean, because we need people working and living in the same place. That's why, I don't know if you guys have your cots there, but you should start, just kind of be an example and show people that, right under the desk right there, you guys each have your own little cot. It kind of goes down and, a toilet right there. So, I mean, you don't even have to go anywhere because it's like, people don't need to travel, right? We don't need to, commune with people. We need to be separate. That really helps with the fear tactic. So this is good, making them, have to make decisions to then not even have their road be fixed. It's good. You guys you're so good at what you do. I mean, I'm just really, really impressed. And I just would like to give you all gold stars today and also some aged sewer water, like I've said before. It's so good. It's really top notch. So just, you guys are just so, so amazing. And just thank you for doing so much destruction. It's good. I mean, can you imagine looking in the mirror? I mean, it feels so good, right? It does. It's so amazing. Kudos. Such kudos, Jim. Really, really good job, you guys. Really good. Good job.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
All right, we will now hear discussion item 6, East County Advanced Water Purification Project Open Space Vacation, and an addendum to previously adopted mitigated negative declarations, Lakeside Community Plan Area, and please call the speakers.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 5 total requests to speak, again, all coming via phone. Also like to note for the record, we did not receive any e-comments on this item. For any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you, and again, we'll give you a moment to do so. We will now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. Again, when it's your turn to speak, you will be unmuted. You'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. And again, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. And we'll begin with our first caller.
This is Truth, and it's actually a very important item to discuss. Padre Dam Municipal Water District is asking the county to vacate an open space easement for a permanent water pipeline for the East County Advanced Water Purification Project that is located on a privately owned piece of land in Lakeside. There's consent from the private property owner, and I wonder what they expect to get out of the extension of this project, or specifically what stake they have in the game. Seems like everyone wants the installation of an underground pipeline through this area, or at least the big bad money makers whose minds are polluted with toxic waste to do, because these sewage pipes will extend the pipeline to treat wastewater by Padre Dam for the people in El Cajon and Lakeside to use on their bodies, clean dishes with, and maybe even drink. It's toilet to tap, a sustainable supply, only for big corporate water. So I think you supervisors should absolutely delay action until October 11th to further delay final action on the item until November, and intentionally create a significant delay to the overall project timeline. Because this item lies when it says it will provide clean water to the public. No, it won't. It will provide wastewater that went through some kind of filtering process, but that's not good enough. These communities deserve clean, natural spring water, not toxic byproduct from a toilet. It's also inequitable to target low-income neighborhoods with these $5,000 expensive and harmful projects. These risky, wasteful projects should be discouraged, and instead, the county should be providing a natural spring water from all of the conserved land that has cost the taxpayers billions of dollars, probably just this year alone. That's the very least that could be done. So I have to say, I think we should flush this item right down the toilet. I don't like it at all. And there goes my sound effect. But we don't need it anyways. I still say flush the item.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
You guys, it's so good giving people back sewer water. It's like so awesome. I feel like we need more chemicals in it, though. I mean, I don't feel like there's enough toxic, poisons that we can put in there. And even still, I feel like, why are we even filtering it? I mean, I feel like that's a waste of money. We could spend that on, destroying other things. We should just be, it's like, just call it something else. We don't even need to consider it water anymore. It could just be like, drink your sludge. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that it's really good for your skin. I mean, you could do poo facials. I mean, those are really, actually, there's poo therapy. I mean, fecal matter therapy, that's supposed to be really good for you. So I feel like this would be a health benefit for people if we didn't filter all that stuff out. And then, we could just put the poison somewhere else, in the food and stuff. I mean, they're already in there, but some more, right? And do some more spraying above the sky. That will also, make the water and the groundwater it's beneficial. And so I feel like, why are we, I don't know, filtering all that poop out is weird. It's very strange. And I feel like it'll taste better if we don't. And then it's like we get kind of like different flavors in there with it. I don't know. Maybe we should be bottling it too. I feel like that is something that we could be doing. especially with the Tijuana River Valley. We should be bottling that. That's such a waste to let it go to waste. You know what I mean? It's like we could just give it out to whoever, you know, and just have them sitting there. It'll be like, you know, and it doesn't matter if it's brown. It's like, don't let that make you afraid. And actually, there's other colors, so it probably can have some, like, depends on what people eat. I'm sure there'll be, like, chunks of corn, right? And that'll be beneficial because then it's like we're getting our vegetables in at the time. I mean, because we don't need vegetables,
Thank you.
right?
Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Paul Bold. I was at the Helix Water District meeting about the water purification when they had the project there. I tasted the water at the meeting, and it was totally gross, totally over-chlorinated. I mean, no point in purifying it. You know, if you have to filter it at home. Anyway, the Tijuana River sewage thing is an emergency. It would be good to devote some of the chlorine for the water purification project to the Tijuana problem instead. It would ease the threat to health and safety around there, while diminishing the threat of overconcentration of chlorine in the Mount Helix water. Also, an increasing number of germs, crud, and pathogens in the waste to be filtered are artificial chemical constructs, and I'm sure a number of them are impervious to chlorine, such as PCBs and mRNA. You may not need as much chlorine as you think for the water purification, but alternate methods for filtration or removal are better. And, you know, as I said, it would be really good thing to give some of that extra chlorine to the Tijuana River sewage thing to fix that. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Gosh, where would we be without government? I swear. It's just a quick Google search, people. What are the disadvantages of recycling wastewater? The disadvantages of reusing water are that there is potential health risks posed by the bacteria it may contain, such as E. coli, hello, just what happened in Imperial Beach the other week, or other harmful bacteria which are transported to wherever the water is finally used. This might lead to an outbreak of waterborne and foodborne diseases. Hello. God, I love government. What are the risks of recycling water? Viruses can pass the filtration system in water treatment plants because of their small size. Some viruses are also resistant to ultraviolet disinfection. Because they have a low-medium infectious dose, viruses have the potential to present a concern in water reuse applications. It's really not that hard to just, you know, like I said, it's a quick Google search. Don't do this. You should stop it if we are doing it in our county. But then again, you're okay with having used Roundup. So, yeah, don't expect much. I don't expect much from you guys. Pathetic. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
Is there a second? Sure. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
All right. We are now going to proceed to public comment on closed session. Clerk, can you please call the speaker?
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 4 total requests to speak, all coming again via phone. For any members of the public that requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial in the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you, and we'll give you a moment to do so. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. Again, when it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I would like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we will go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Yeah, good job yesterday. And, you know, all the time, just, you know, silencing people and stuff like that, because we can't have people, you know, redressing their grievances. And don't let them think that that could cause you to have litigation, you guys. You know that you're above the law, right? So don't let them think that you're below the law. I mean, we need to have people believe that there's nothing that they can do, because really there isn't. But we just need to continue making them believe that, because, you know, nothing is on the people's side. And, you know, it's good that we use the people's money to do all of this. So keep it up. Keep doing what you guys are doing. It is fantastic. It really shows your allegiance to Satan, and he is so proud of you guys. It's just litigation, right? It's so funny. People actually think the courts will help them. So funny. I'm going to go eat some bugs and drink my sewer water, you guys. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Oh, I love it. Oh, I farted. Oh my gosh, that's just. Oh man, I'm rolling in my grave right now. I mean, maybe. Who knows? I could be dead. I'm not sure. It's like, who knows what reality is these days? I mean, it's all in the air.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
It's truth. Case A is the estate of Omar Moreno Arroyo versus the County of San Diego. Former Sheriff Bill Gore, a deputy and a jail nurse. In 2021, Omar's wife Tammy called 911 when her husband Omar was high on meth. He was arrested. Allegedly, the deputies failed to inform jail staff that Omar had a heart condition that required daily medication and that he was under the influence of meth. Then jail staff failed to adequately monitor Omar, so he choked to death on his face mask. Omar was 33 years old and in jail for less than 12 hours. That's how safe and effective masks are. And there's even a new $40 million lawsuit filed by the family of Leonel Villasenor, accusing the Sheriff's Department of bringing drugs into the jails and profiting off the sale of those drugs to the inmates. Case B is County Counsel Claudia Silva's dreaded performance evaluation. Seen her consider a conflict of interest, I pointed out. I've also seen her not answer a question from the public, not naming names there. So I'm going to give the CC a C. There's still a why missing flyer out for Lonnie Elridge, but from the reader, quote, after only 12 months on the job, Lonnie was called out by County Chief of Audit, Juan Perez, for sloppy handling of public money, end quote. KC is Chief Probation Officer Tamika Nelson's performance evaluation. Unfortunately, I could not remember hearing from her at all, so the best grade I can give her is a C-. And KC is taking forever for Helen to hurry up and retire from her six-figure career of Zoom. I think the county should save the people's money and not seek a replacement. All that money could be refunded back to the taxpayers so we could all afford to eat better, healthier lunches after board meetings. Do it for equity, fairness, sustainability, justice, inclusion, diversity of diet, and transformation of inequitable communities starved of good government, which does require intelligent people. And there's not too many of that, I understand that. But we do need justice in some of these laws.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
All right, with that, we are going to proceed to closed session in about 5 minutes, and if there's anything to report, we'll return back after closed session. This session is adjourned.
The board will now recess into closed session to continue consideration of those matters listed under item 17 on yesterday's agenda. And as noted, if there are any reportable actions, they will be reported out after the conclusion of closed session today.